Strange New Worlds is seemingly creating a new monster 48 years after the alien's first appearance. For nearly 6 decades, Star Trek has inspired generations of science fiction fans with its bold storytelling, philosophical depth, and sometimes its monsters. From the salt vampire of The Man Trap to the Gornan Arena, Star Trek's creatures have never been mere horror fodder. They've symbolized fear of the unknown, humanity's flaws, or the moral consequences of exploration itself. But with Star Trek, Strange New Worlds entering its 3rd season, the franchise seems to be returning to that primal horror frontier. And intriguingly, it's doing so in a way that recalls the terrifying birth of another sci-fi legend, the Alien franchise. In Strange New Worlds Season 3, Episode 3, the series appears to be creating a new kind of monster, a creature that channels the dread, isolation, and body horror that first captivated audiences 48 years ago when Ridley Scott's Alien burst from the chest of cinema in 1979. It's not just an homage, it feels like Star Trek is reinventing its own version of that terror, filtered through its optimistic lens and rich moral complexity. The legacy of sci-fi's perfect monster. In 1979, Alien changed everything. Its creature, designed by H.R. Giger, wasn't just a monster, it was a manifestation of primal fear. Parasitic, biomechanical, and disturbingly sexual in its design, the xenomorph redefined science fiction horror. It combined the sleekness of futuristic space travel with the raw, claustrophobic terror of being hunted in a steel coffin floating in the void. But what made Alien unforgettable wasn't merely the creature's physical threat, it was the atmosphere of dread. The idea that space, humanity's new frontier, could be home to something utterly hostile and unknowable terrified audiences. Alien wasn't about diplomacy or discovery, it was about survival. Star Trek, by contrast, had always been about overcoming fear through understanding. When the original series premiered in 1966, its monsters often turned out to be misunderstood beings. The horde of the Devil in the Dark, initially seen as a murderous rock creature, turned out to be a mother protecting her eggs. The lesson was empathy, not eradication. Yet Strange New Worlds seems to be finding a new balance, reclaiming the raw terror that Alien mastered while still staying true to Trek's ideals. Season 3's turn toward horror. Strange New Worlds has never shied away from experimentation. It's been a musical, a war story, and even a romantic comedy. But Season 3, Episode 3, took an unexpected dive into body horror and paranoia, tones rarely explored in Trek since the Borg first assimilated the screen. The episode opens with a mysterious derelict vessel adrift in deep space, a classic setup both Star Trek and Alien fans instantly recognize. When the crew boards it, they find signs of violence. Shredded bulkheads, empty corridors, and strange organic residue that seems to pulse faintly in the light. Dr. M'Benga, at the heart of the episode, becomes the emotional anchor. His past trauma with the Klingon War intertwines with the mission's growing dread. Slowly, the crew realizes that something survived aboard the wreckage, something that doesn't simply attack but infects. Victims begin to mutate, not through mechanical assimilation like the Borg, but via biological transformation. This is where Strange New Worlds subtly echoes Alien's most horrifying element, the fear of your own body betraying you. Infection, transformation, and the loss of autonomy. These are primal fears that made Alien so effective. But unlike Ripley's world, where survival was the only goal, Trek's universe introduces a moral dilemma. Do you kill the infected to protect others, or do you try to save what's left of them? A new type of monster, the creature, let's call it the Void Spawn for now, isn't just a copy of the xenomorph. It's a distinctly Trekian evolution of the idea. Where Alien's monster is driven by instinct, the Void Spawn appears to be sentient, or at least adaptive. It learns. It mimics. It changes form depending on its host's physiology. Visually, the creature channels that organic mechanical aesthetic Alien pioneered, but with a Star Trek twist. Its tendrils glisten like liquid metal, its body an unsettling fusion of flesh and bioluminescent circuitry. M'Benga theorizes it may not be a simple predator at all, but a failed experiment, a hybrid organism born from early Federation xenobiology research gone wrong. That twist adds a layer of guilt and responsibility that Trek thrives on. Humanity's curiosity, its desire to push boundaries, may have birthed this monster. In that sense, it's a mirror to Alien's Weyland-Yutani Corporation, only instead of corporate greed, it's scientific hubris. This is where Strange New Worlds becomes uniquely powerful. Rather than simply borrowing Alien's terror, it reframes it through Star Trek's moral lens. The question becomes not just can we kill it, but should we have created it in the first place? Star Trek's complicated history with monsters. While Alien perfected the sci-fi horror monster, Star Trek has always used its creatures as allegories. The Gorn, for instance, first appeared in 1967 as lumbering reptilian brutes. But in Strange New Worlds, they've been reimagined as terrifying, fast-evolving predators that breed through parasitism, a chilling nod to Alien's chestburster. In Season 1's All Those Who Wander, the Gorn's eggs incubated inside unsuspecting victims, bursting forth in scenes that push Star Trek's horror boundaries. It was a clear homage to Alien, down to the dimly lit corridors and the sense of helplessness as the crew was hunted. But the Void Spawn, or whatever the creature in Season 3 turns out to be, feels different. It's not simply parasitic, it's transformative. It doesn't just feed, it changes what it touches, blending biology with technology. In that way, it bridges the gap between the Gorn's raw horror and the Borg's cold assimilation. It's a monster of the 23rd century, one that represents the blurring line between organic life and synthetic creation, the 48-year echo. It's been 48 years since Alien premiered, yet its influence continues to shape modern sci-fi. What's fascinating is how Strange New Worlds doesn't shy away from that lineage, it embraces it. Consider the thematic symmetry. Alien was about humans facing an organism that made them question their place in the food chain. Strange New Worlds flips the dynamic by having Starfleet face a creation of their own making, forcing them to question the ethics of exploration itself. Both stories are about hubris, isolation, and survival, but where Alien left audiences in bleak awe, Star Trek offers hope. The horror isn't used merely to shock, it's used to illuminate. Even in the face of monstrous terror, the Federation's guiding principle, understanding over destruction, remains intact. In that sense, Strange New Worlds may be crafting a new kind of monster story. One that's terrifying, yes, but also deeply human. Dr. M'Benga and the human face of horror. Central to this episode's success is Dr. Joseph M'Benga. He's a character defined by moral struggle, haunted by what he did during the Klingon War. Now faced with a threat that weaponizes biology itself, his past and present collide. As the infection spreads, M'Benga must decide whether to use a lethal counteragent that could kill the creature and anyone it's bonded to, or risk the ship trying to communicate with it. His inner turmoil mirrors the larger theme. When faced with something monstrous, do we give in to fear or remain true to who we are? Anson Mount's Captain Pike,